Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all doing well today. Now, if you have been anywhere near social media in the last couple of days, you may have come across something that is kind of, well, unexpected. It's a viral story that is definitely been making waves. And when I first saw it, I thought, what on earth is going on here? Because believe it or not, it's about cheese, pepperoni, and politics. Yeah, you heard that right. Cheese, pepperoni, and a little bit of a political perspective thrown in there. Trust me, it's a bit of a wide ride. So let's get started.
So I just wanted to come on here and say that if you're wondering why people voted for Trump, it's because of things like this. My daughter likes to take cheese and pepperoni and crackers for her lunch. I counted how many pieces of cheese were left in this before I ate any to make sure that I had enough for her to take every day for lunch this week. I counted the pieces of cheese because I didn't want to have to go buy more. That's why I voted for Trump.
A lot of people responded to her video and were just shocked that that would be the thing that would get her vote. That she would throw out women's bodily autonomy and the economy and trans rights and everything like that in favor of a few cents off of cheese. But here's the thing. There are lots of people who are single issue voters. And if we're talking about someone voting for like the imaginary moral crime that is abortion health care, because of their own religious beliefs, or someone who's voting on a single issue and that issue is, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to feed my family, I feel at least the latter is a more viable and realistic issue. Only voting for someone based on a single issue kind of loses steam if that individual can't deliver the one issue you care about. Speaking of issues, Time Magazine just named Donald Trump their Person of the Year. And if you're a fan of his, you might want to pick this up, especially if you, like her, are worried about grocery prices. Not so much for the photo, but for the interview that he did inside, wherein Trump admitted that it would be hard to bring down grocery prices. In fact, he went so far as to say, don't think I can do it. Really don't have any power in it, despite the fact he told you that he could. He said, I hope lower energy costs and better supply chains might do it, only those aren't the issue. Now, granted, companies are telling you, oh, we had supply chain issues and our prices had to go up. Yeah, that was during pandemic. Those prices haven't come down. And then they're also talking about like overall administrative costs, etc. When it's like a recession situation, when a company is having to raise their prices just to keep afloat, you know what they don't do? They don't in the same year celebrate record profits. And all of these companies are. Because they raised their prices, not to offset costs, but just to make more money. And they are. And you're paying for it. And he has no plan to stop it. Oh, but as long as we're talking about supply chain, you know what might impact the supply chain in a negative way? Tariffs. Which, by the way, if that's the reason you voted for him, Trump says he can't guarantee tariffs won't raise U.S. prices. Of course he can't. Because they almost certainly will. If a company is getting something manufactured outside of the country because it's cheaper, and then tariffs offset that, and it costs the same as it would do America, blah, blah, blah. Sure, maybe they might have manufacturing here, but they would charge more. Incidentally, being Time Magazine's Person of the Year doesn't necessarily mean that they think you're going to be a good person or have a good impact. It just means you're the person most likely to have an impact.
To the lady that was counting that fucking cheese. Is she okay? She said that she was going to vote for Trump because she knew that he was going to lower grocery prices. How does she feel now knowing that he is not going to? When we told you that it wasn't going to happen, that grocery prices weren't going to go down, you called us everything but a child of God, even though you claim to be a Christian. But yeah, I just find that very interesting. But now that he said that he cannot do, that he probably won't be able to do anything, it's just okay. And you're not going to get upset or anything. That isn't kind of weird to you? Now, from Republicans, we are going to hear all the time that the president does not control the price of groceries. That's so fucking ironic, right? Tariffs are going to make the groceries increase even more. So yeah, you're going to be counting cheese for a very long time, my friend. I hope that her and other Americans are prepared to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, as we should do, right? Because in reality, we should have been boycotting these big companies that like to price gouge. But no, we never want to, actually address the problem. We just kind of want to skip over it. Yeah.
I'm conflicted by this. I truly am, because I don't want anybody to suffer financially. I get it. I understand that this was the primary voting impetus for a lot of people. This deep misunderstanding of Trump's pull on the economy and how he's going to wave a magic wand and fix this, as opposed to enacting tariffs and ballooning inflation 40% or whatever. I voted for Kamala Harris so that my mother wouldn't get kicked off of her health insurance because she has a pre-existing condition, and then she's going to die because we can't afford to keep her alive. But I guess cheese is important too. I do get it.
So I just wanted to come on here and say that if you're wondering why people voted for Trump, it's because of things like this. My daughter likes to take cheese and pepperoni and crackers for her lunch. I counted how many pieces of cheese were left in this before I ate any to make sure that I had enough for her to take every day for lunch this week. I counted the pieces of cheese because I didn't want to have to go buy more. That's why I voted for Trump.
It has come to my attention that some of you are not aware of the lady who had to count her cheese slices. Like, are you kidding me? You should go follow her and see how this turns out, because I don't even know how she's going to manage. She had to count all that cheese. Look at all those slices. Look how close they are together. And with the Colby and the mozzarella or whatever the mixture is, like, there's sometimes where you can't even tell, is that one slice or is it two? Like, how is she supposed to even know if she has to go back to the store? I don't know. So if you want to go follow her and find out, I think you can see her name down there. Good luck.
So that woman in that video is talking about the economy, and she's using a package of pre-sliced cheese as an example of why she voted for Trump, because she doesn't get enough cheese in her pre-sliced carton for her to eat the cheese herself and then also make enough for her daughter to have lunch throughout the week. And I just have a question for you here. When does personal responsibility become a factor in this equation? You went out and bought pre-sliced cheese when they sell a block of cheese, that same exact cheese, about 4 times as big for about half the price. All you have to do is slice it yourself. What happened to living within your means? If you can't afford the amount of cheese that you need for your child's lunch in a pre-sliced form, what you do is you adapt. Natural selection occurs in nature for a reason. Adaptation is a process that we have to get used to. So instead of buying pre-sliced cheese, you could have bought the full block of cheese and put in a little bit of effort with a tool called a knife in the kitchen and slice the cheese on your own. But let's use your cheese as an example of the economy. You want it just handed to you. You want it easy. You want someone to tell you that you don't have to put any effort here to get the item that you want. But you don't want to pay more for that. But you also don't want to put in the effort to get what you want on your own. And you chose to vote for somebody who told you to sit back and relax because he's going to change everything to fit your exact needs. That is impossible. That's impossible. What you want is a utopia. And utopia never exists because there's always a dystopian part of the society. I can't believe I got here because of cheese.
Let's talk about the cheese slice lady. That groceries are expensive and you're essentially having to ration your daughter's cheese because you want to lessen the amount of times that you have to go out and buy it is so crazy to me after skimming through your page. And you're saying that all while being able to afford to go to cheer competitions for your daughters. Like, okay, your kids are involved, but cheer is not cheap. Complaining about rationing cheese and then glamping in a camper. And even glamping isn't cheap anymore. Complaining about having to ration cheese and then making a video of you buying Christmas decorations, all while you can reuse the current decorations that you have in your attic right now and not even have to worry about going and buying more Christmas decorations. Could just be me, but it's very odd. And it just revoked any sympathy that I had for your cheese rationing situation. Because in my opinion, you can clearly afford to go out and buy more cheese, since you have Christmas decoration spending money.
Wow, I have to say, when I first saw this story about cheese, pepperoni and a woman explaining why she voted for Trump, I was honestly taken back. It's not every day you see a viral post that ties something as simple as packaging a lunch to a whole political ideology. But as I read through it, I realize there is a lot more going on here than meets the eye. It's not just about cheese and crackers, it's about values, personal responsibilities, and a sense of control that many feel they have lost in a rapidly changing world. So let's break this down and talk about why this story, in all its seemingly random simplicity, has touched a nerve with so many people. The story starts with a mom who is packing her daughter's lunch. She mentioned how her daughter likes to have cheese, pepperoni, and a crackers for lunch, and she goes on to explain that she counted how many pieces of cheese were left in the box before she ate any, just to make sure there would be enough for the rest of the week. She didn't want to run out of cheese midweek and end up spending more money at the store. At first, it sounds almost absurd. I mean, how often do we find ourselves counting out pieces of cheese to make sure we don't run out before the next grocery trip? It's a little quicking, sure, but in a way, it's so relatable. Who haven't looked in their fridge and tried to figure out how to stretch their groceries just a little bit longer? Who haven't had that moment where you are stretching the last bit of something? Cheese, milk, bread, just to get through the next payday. It's a common experience, especially for families on tight budgets or people living paycheck to paycheck. This woman's story may seem trivial, but is rooted in something deeply personal. The desire to make sure your loved ones are taken care of, even in the smallest ways. Now, here is where it gets interesting. The woman doesn't just end her post with a simple recount of counting out cheese. She ties it to her political views, specifically explaining that this counting cheese and being frugal with what you have is exactly why she voted for Donald Trump. She doesn't give a lengthy explanation about tax policy or healthcare reform. She simply says that this small act of personal responsibilities of budgeting and making do with what she had was why she felt aligned with the Trump campaign. This is where things get a little more complicated. For many people, this statement might seem completely out of left field. Why would something as mundane as counting slices of cheese be linked to voting for a specific politician? It feels almost like a non-sequitur, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this seemingly odd connection actually reveals something about the way many people view politics today. Let's talk about what I think this woman is really getting at. The art of counting out cheese, of budgeting, being frugal, and making sure you don't run out of what you need can be seen as a metaphor for the way people feel about government and their own personal autonomy. It's about taking control. It's about managing your own resources without needing to rely on the government to step in and fix things for you. For many people, especially those who have felt left behind or ignored by politicians, there is a sense that they are the ones who have to make it work. They are the ones who have to figure things out on their own, and that is a sentiment that aligns with a lot of the messaging that Trump has used during his campaigns. Messages that emphasizes personal responsibilities, self-reliance, and less government intervention. In a way, this woman's statement is a reflection of the broader frustration that many people feel when they don't see the government addressing their day-to-day strugglings. The feeling that you are just one small person trying to make ends meet while the world feels like it's getting more complicated and more expensive every year. For some, voting for Trump wasn't just about politics, it was about a desire to take matters into their own hands, to feel like they had some control over their lives, and in this case, the simple act of counting cheese becomes symbolic of that mindset. Of course, not everyone will agree to this perspective. Some might argue that counting cheese isn't the same as taking on a larger political fight. Others might say this type of thinking oversimplifies the complexities of government and policy, and I totally understand that. Politics is about more than just personal responsibility. It's also about collective action, public goods, and systemic change. But the truth is, personal stories like this can reflect deeply feelings of alienation, frustration, and the desire for autonomy. For people who feel like the government isn't serving them, voting a candidate who promises to shake things up can feel like a way of regaining control, just like making sure there is enough cheese for the week. Now, let's take a moment to talk about the reactions to this story. As you can imagine, it didn't take long for people to start chiming in on social media, and the reactions were pretty mixed. Some people found the post humorous and relatable, while others thought it was a bit of a stretch to tie something so trivial to a political decision. But here is the thing, No matter where you stand on this particular woman's reason, the fact that this story went viral shows how deeply people are thinking about the intersection of their everyday lives and the broader political landscape. Whether we like it or not, personal experiences like this shape the way people vote and make political decisions. Sometimes, those decisions are made based on every personal, very human feelings of frustration, responsibilities, and self-reliance. But here is another layer to this conversation. For some people, this story may have sparked a sense of empathy, a reminder that at the end of the day, we are all just trying to do our best with what we have. Maybe this woman's story about cheese and pepperoni isn't about politics at all. It's about the everyday struggle of parents trying to make sure their child has enough to eat, while also managing the resources they have. Maybe it's about love, responsibility, and doing what you can to make sure things work out. And that is something anyone can relate to, no matter whether you stand politically. In conclusion, I think the viral nature of this story reveals just how much people's personal lives and political decisions are intertwined. Whether you agree with her choice or not, this woman's story offers a window in the way people approach the world, their finances, and their political decisions. It's a reminder that sometimes the smallest action can have the biggest implications, whether it's counting slices of cheese or making a vote that feels like a way to take back control. And maybe, just maybe, there is something to learn from this quickened story about how everyday moments shape the way we view the world. At the end of the day, politics isn't just about policies. It's about the people who are living with those policies every day, trying to make the best of their circumstances. This story might be about cheese, but it's also about a much larger conversation about how people feel about their lives, their choice, and the world around them. Alright, thank you for watching, and let us continue this conversation in the comments below. Let us share our thoughts and perspective with one another. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on this story and more. I will see you in the next video.